Wonderful. Good morning, friends, and welcome to the Spiritual Side of Virginia. As always, it's so good to be together with all of you here today. And as always, before we start our services and say our prayer, we read together a short message so we can bring our attention to this moment. And for today, the mentors of the Spiritual Side of Virginia prepared the message for us that was psychographed by the Spirit Emmanuel through the loving hands of the medium Chico Xavier, and the message is titled Peace. It says, "Let us begin with the foundations of understanding. Refrain from dwelling on the flaws of your companions. Instead, seek to highlight the noble qualities in which they show themselves." And he finalizes, friends, saying, "Examine the good, praise the good, and extend the good as much as possible."
We invite everyone to pray. Remember, prayer is not a ritual. It's conversation with God, feeling God together. We close our eyes so we can focus and feel our togetherness with God. Dear Mother, Father God, we are so happy to be here in this place where we cherish our connection with you, hoping that we can continue feeling this way in our homes, at work, and at school, everywhere we go. We visualize the spirit doctors, nurses, and therapists who are here present, the messengers of your love, who truly care for us, even if we are inside of our cars listening to this, receiving their loving visit, providing us with the healing remedies that we need for the mind and the bodies. We breathe in and out, pacifying ourselves, calming our racing minds, and being grateful to you. You are so special, so loving, that you have created us as your co-creators. May today we co-create this educational therapeutic session with greater harmony, facilitating the work of your messengers. May we stay under your guidance, feeling your protection as you grant us the permission to be here. Thank you, and sweet. All right, before we go to our rooms, today we're going to talk about courage. Today I know somebody who would turn 221 years of age. Who is that? Kardec. Yes, on October 3rd, he turned 221 in the spiritual realm, because his body cannot sustain 200 years, right? But he was a man of great courage. You know, you go to school and the friends poke you and say, "I dare if you throw paper onto that, or food, the cafeteria, right? Pass. I dare you to throw this bread on that person." That's not courage. That's craziness. Courage is something else. It's something that we're going to talk about here. But in every room today, we are all of us under the celebration of the birthday of Kardec. Were it not for Kardec, we wouldn't be here because he created the first Spiritist society in the world. Where was it again? Where was the first Spiritist society created? France. Where in France? Paris. Oh my God. You see, Paris is more special than we imagine. One day people are going to travel there just to see things related to Kardec. We're getting close. Meanwhile, we're going to celebrate learning together about his courage, inspiring us to also be courageous doing the good. Shall we, friends? So, our younger generation, please follow Mr. Felipe, Miss Fernanda, Miss Daisy, Miss Carol, please. He's gonna be able to be on his group. You wanna go or on this day? You wanna go? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Oh, right. Right. Okay, friends, let's talk about courage. This is Kardec. Kardec born in the 19th century at a very special time on earth, in Paris, in Lyon, the south of France. He studied in Switzerland, in Yverdon, with the renowned Pestalozzi, one of the greatest educators of all time. And he was a very precocious mind. At 14, he was already considered an assistant to Pestalozzi. Of course, he was a gifted mind because he was a missionary spirit, so attentive to education that he became an educator. Of all things, his family, he came from a prominent family, from the aristocracy of the time. Especially, they had judges, lawyers in his family. But he, unlike everybody in his family, he said, I want to teach. Wow. At a time in which Not many people wanted to teach unless they were women, right? And he was such a special mind that he married a woman that was 8 years his senior. She was older. Amélie Baudet. He was a different mind, but very logical. He had a good heart, and yet his reasoning brain was always leading his life. One day, a friend of his heard and had seen the phenomenon of the turning tables. So people would gather together around small tables, and they would just be around the tables, touching the table would be turning, replying to their questions. What did Kardec do at first? He was like, if tables had brains, they would actually think. He thought maybe it's just an electrical magnetic phenomenon. So at first he dismissed. He said, this is nonsense. Also he dismissed because people who were engaged in it were not serious. But when his friend, who was very serious and committed, came to him and said, you must see this. You have to come. He came with an observing mind, which is the mind of scientists. We observe the facts, analyze the language. And that's what he did. He observed, and he had a question in mind. He didn't say it, but the answer came through the phenomena of the tables. And he was like, no, I need to research further into this. So Kardec had this courageous mind. He was different. And the question is, how courageous are we? Because sometimes we have people in our lives who want to point a direction and we're like, no, that's crazy. I don't. But the scientific mind really explores the new with curiosity, healthy curiosity, and at the same time, this logical reasoning. So how courageous are we to know more? I know people, even spiritists, who say, I don't want to read this book because I'm afraid. Look at Kardec's books over there. There's one that is titled Heaven and Hell. And some people, they're like, I don't want to read this. I don't want to know about hell. But that's not what it says. See, fear blocks us from knowing what we don't know. It's one of the most beautiful books. So beautiful that today in Brazil, at 7 p.m., there is an organization in Brazil that is creating, they are making short movies of the 66 cases in this book, Heaven and Hell. Today they're going to release the first episode. We're praying that they release one day at Netflix so we can watch it in English, because they're going to release tonight the first episode. It's going to be in Portuguese, but it's so beautiful. They have actors and actresses dressed up as they were at the time Kardec was living. And they are showing the life of that spirit as it's reported here. So if I am afraid just because I see a word, then my courage needs to be stronger. Talking about courage, let's go back to Kardec. In 1854, when Kardec observed the turning tables, he decided to study the phenomenon scientifically. Then, years later, he published the first book, the Spirit's Book, in 1857. What day? April 18th, 1857. And then in 1861, he published this the Medium's book, and he starts defending this new understanding of life. Even when he died in 1869, he was working on Spiritism, compiling materials and receiving the latest issue of the Spiritist magazine that he used to publish. So throughout his life, he made decisions that took courage. From one, becoming an educator at a time when educators were not as prestigious, though he became a prestigious one, marrying someone older than him, and putting his reputation at risk. We're going to see more. Well, let's ask science. What does science say about courage? In psychology and neuroscience, we know courage is deeply rooted in our biology, okay? Courage is not a thing that is external to us. It's something inner. In this paper in 2024, in the Frontiers of Psychology, which is a journal, scientific journal, they have this paper titled Dual Process Model of Courage. And what did they conclude? That courage is not a fixed trait, but a process. A process. Why does this matter to us? Because if we're not courageous enough, we need to keep working on it in order to reach the level of courage that Jesus had. I cannot do that. I can't. What he did. In the face of all ignorance, coming to public. And it's hard. Sometimes we are amongst friends and we don't even share we're spiritists. Because, oh, what people going to say? They think I'm going to be crazy. They're going to think we're crazy no matter what. Whether we say we're spiritists or not, they are going to find something strange. Because when we really walk the talk, we're different. Nowadays, people are talking about the courage to fight within our nation. No, that's not courage. It's irresponsibility. We don't fight inside of our nation. No, we don't create a civil war and want a Nobel Prize. That is not coherent. We don't fight our brothers and sisters in our nation. That's irresponsible, to say the least. And if we don't stand up for the truth, we're going to be witnesses and co-responsible for great problems that will appear because we are not courageous to stand up for the truth. This is not a political statement. It's social responsibility. And that's the key in Kardec's life. Social responsibility. He had a high level of awareness of social responsibility. He first and foremost challenged the intellectuals and the religious norms of his time. How was the intellectual community behaving at the time? Very dogmatic in many ways. The same for the religious orthodox system that we had. In the 19th century, in France, materialism and skepticism dominated science. But religious movement held a lot of power, and they were very dogmatic, orthodox. Is it different nowadays? No, right? No. Our science is very materialistic. I, as a scientist, can tell It's very materialistic. And our religious systems are still very dogmatic. Dogmatic to the level of corrupting the most beautiful teachings of the Christ, creating a movement that we do not recognize as Christ-like. Christian nationalism. Christian nationalism is not Christian. It's actually the Antichrist, because it's corrupting the very system of love and equality that Jesus implemented when he came here. When Jesus came, he came for us to feel equal, to be together. When we discriminate someone because of their race, because of their nationality, because of their socioeconomic status, we are not Christ conscious at all. At all. Because Jesus came for the poor and the suffering and the sick and the afflicted. And he came within the very people who at the time were being enslaved and mistreated. So when we use, or better saying, misuse the Christian values to discriminate in the name of putting order in our nation, we are committing one of the highest crimes on earth, which is, again, crucifying the Christ. That's a new way of crucifying the Christ. Using the Christ to discriminate, to push away. If we think like this, we need to read the Gospel according to Spiritism from chapter 1 to the end and study back and forth until we understand that there is no excuse whatsoever to be inhumane, mistreating people that we allowed to enter our country. We allowed them to be here. We can't expel them like they are animals. Kardec had that courage to really explain in the Spirit's book that the dogmatic religiosity of the time was failing us, and the materialism of science was limiting us from getting to know the truth. What else did he do? The second thing that he did that was very courageous, he put his reputation at risk. He put truth above his personal safety and reputation. Kardec, he knew he was risking his social standing because he knew the emperor of the time. He knew the people of the highest society, his professional reputation. And yet he said, we have to publish it. We have to do it. And he used to say, and it's in the Spirit's book, better to incur ridicule by speaking the truth than to incur remorse by denying it. Friends, whenever we do something against the truth, we will feel guilt, remorse, and that kills the soul. When I visit nursing homes, I see in the face of elderly people the result of what they cultivated during their lives. Happy elderly people are those who chose the truth and love in their lives. But I see a lot of people who reach their aging years and they feel ashamed, remorseful, depressed, anxious, fearful. Yesterday I was talking to someone and her sister is in the 80s. And it's a deplorable scenario. But I told her sister, said, look, it's what Jesus said. People create their own lives. What can we do? The person chose to be alone. Now she's alone. The person chose to be apart from society, from the family, apart from so many things. Now, at the end of the life, she is alone. So lonely that not even the family can visit her well. So what are we cultivating in this life? When a family member calls us to gossip and talk about another family member because of political things. That's what we see across the world. It's not only in the US. It's in Brazil, in Europe, everywhere. Families separated by political views. And then they call each other saying, did you see somebody's post about that political person? So now we're going to create a war in our family because people have different political views. And we're going to fail in this reincarnation, discarnating with the remorse of despising a family member because of political view. If they vote in A or B, doesn't matter. It matters that we need to learn to love each other. Kardec knew it, and he said the truth comes above. The other thing he did, he faced hostility. Inevitably. Thank God it was before social media. Because even soccer players and soccer coaches are so upset with social media. There is a soccer coach that I know that he doesn't even have social media because he says, I don't want to face this. Because it's so brutal the way people attack others behind screens. That shows that we're still not courageous, because if they were face to face, they wouldn't say that. But behind the screen, we're so brave. Behind the screen. Let's see if we're brave in person. Kardec didn't have a screen to protect him. He knew people would directly be hostile, persecute him. Newspapers were mocking him. Clergy were denouncing him publicly. Fanatics were occasionally threatening him. It is real. Kardec faced even death threats. Did he give up? Thank God he didn't, or we wouldn't be here. Kardec still answered his critics with reason, serenity, and documentation, never with anger, which is a true example for us of moral courage and intellectual discipline. When we read all these books and the Spiritist magazine at his time, we're going to see that Kardec, he always talked with his critics. There is even a book, right? The What is Spiritism? In which he shows the dialogue between him and a priest, between him and the person who doesn't believe in God. He talks, but he says, when you see people who don't want to believe just to poke you, leave them alone. It's fruitless. So he doesn't ask us to impose. He doesn't ask us to go door to door and say, be a spiritist. No. He says, but if people come to you, you explain. If they really want to know, because if they don't want to know and they're just teasing us, then we leave it alone. The other thing that Kardec did that was very courageous, he advocated for a peaceful revolution of thought. That is the revolution that we want. Next year in the United States of America, we are preparing ourselves to celebrate 250 years of the Declaration of Independence in this country. It's one of the most beautiful documents in humankind's history. It's something that really changed the history of our planet. It inspired even European nations and continues to inspire so many. And we are now at the very hardest task to put to the test what was written 250 years ago. The timing is perfect. And even us, every single person living here is being called to reflect on the depth of that document, because we spiritists know that in the book, On the Way to the Light, Emmanuel, through Chico Xavier, wrote a chapter talking about how the superior spirits, guided by Christ, influenced Thomas Jefferson to write the document, Ben Franklin to revise it, John Adams to revise it, and everybody to abide to that document that became the cornerstone of a new nation. It took them a lot of courage to face the giant Great Britain at the time and say, we're not going to stand up for this. It took a lot of courage. It was the beginning of a revolution, but a revolution that was not only physical, but to bring one of God's laws, the law of freedom. In the Spirit's book by Kardec has 4 parts. The 3rd part is the laws of God. In that part, Kardec explains that there are 10 laws, and the law of freedom is a divine law we need to respect and comply with. But am I respecting people's freedom of speech? No, because we are authoritarians, and I want them to think like I do. That's not how we comply with God's laws. Jesus respected so much so that he allowed the Caesar of the time to do the crazy things that they were doing. We've never heard Jesus saying, oh, this Roman Empire is crazy, let's put it down. Never, never. That's what the Jewish people wanted him to do. And that's why they crucified him, because he was not doing that. So we are not going to do that either. But we are going to comply with it in our families. It's when in our family somebody thinks differently and we respect. For parents who have children, it's always different, right? We respect, but we need to educate them. So it's not like, I don't think homework is good and we're going to say, oh yeah, you're right, I'm going to respect your opinion. No, that's not what we're saying, because we have responsibility. They need to be educated. We are going to kindly lead them into a new understanding of homework. Learning that homework is amazing. Learning that homework is a great opportunity to progress and be free from ignorance. When I see parents tearing their children, I used not to like homework either. I shake my head and I say, man, why did you say that? You're not helping your kid. Keep it for yourself, to yourself. If you didn't like, now it's time for you to like homework through your kid. And if through your child it didn't work, when you become a grandparent, it's another opportunity. But we need to like our homework. Literally, doing laundry. I was telling a kind family member who didn't want to pile up on laundry. And I said, don't worry. the machine will wash 2 pieces of clothes or 10. You can keep bringing, and we'll keep putting love into those clothes. We're not going to tell people, reuse your clothes 10 times because I'm not going to wash it because I'm lazy. And then you get sick. No wonder we get sick. People don't want to shower. They don't want to wash their clothes. Of course we're going to get sick. So, he advocated for a peaceful revolution. How? He was not seeking power. We've never heard Kardec seeking power or wealth. He actually envisioned a moral and rational transformation of our minds, founded on charity, justice, and the immortality of the soul. And Kardec worked tirelessly, in spite of being ill and the opposition of the time. You know, when our kids get sick, they don't go to school. But depending on how they are, we have to push them. And I say to Virginia, no, Virginia, if you don't have fever, you have to go. Because one day you're going to be my age and you have to go to work, whether you have something or not. So we keep pushing to coach them to times like this. There was a time the spirits told Kardec, Kardec, stop. You have to retreat, recharge, because you need more time on earth. So he told his wife, who kept working, and said, I'm going to the beach somewhere. And then he started writing letters to her and explaining how he was doing. Meanwhile, he was compiling the Gospel according to Spiritism, which was published in 1864, 3 years before he discarnated. One of the most important books that he wrote. Because in that book, in this book, in the introduction of the book, in the very introduction, which we almost never read, right? He comes here and he tells us about the objective of the work, but later he's going to tell us about how religion and science are together. It is in this book that he states that religion and science should work together. So through Spiritism, when people talk about, creation, Darwinism, say, don't worry about it. Put both together. It's in the Spiritist literature. God created everything, but created us to progress. Didn't create us as we are now. So he was so courageous that today we're being asked to be courageous in our lives. He really portrayed what Jesus recommended. Don't put the light under a bushel. Meaning, we know the truth. But Jesus said to Nicodemus, one of the greatest doctors of the laws who came to see him, Nicodemus, you know so much, but you are hiding it out of fear. What if Chico Xavier were afraid of the church? The church was big. If you go nowadays to Pedro Leopoldo, it's still a small city. Super small. It's a town. Super small. At Chico Xavier's time was rural. The church to date, the cathedral, is so giant. He opened the center in the very same street. He was so courageous, man. And he didn't do this out of being He's in the church because he respected the church as we do. We respect and we tell people, cherish your religiosity, whatever you feel like it, but allow us to do the same where we want to do it. But the question for us, are we courageous in the good, friends? What if we could share more in our daily lives, in our example? Wouldn't we help our nation? It's not a mass movement, but it's an individual movement wherever we are. It's about responsibility of the enlightened. Those who receive the light need to share. Spiritism is a new light. According to Kardec, Spiritism sheds light with our reasoning. What if we were afraid to start the Spiritist Society of Virginia? We wouldn't be here today. What people are going to think? Why do you care? We have to do it. And if they don't like, we talk. We're in the 21st century. We have enough resources to keep sharing more and more through our social media. People share 10,000 things. I see sometimes Regina shows me dog videos. I love dog videos. They have millions of followers. They don't speak a word. And then you go to Kardec Radio. There's so many beautiful things there. More than 10,000 tracks already available. Camila Weekly is there, organizing our YouTube channel. So beautiful. It's so clear to see the many playlists that are there. And people don't like, don't subscribe and don't share. I think sometimes it's because we don't say it right. Because I watch the other 10,000 things people say, share, subscribe, and like. Maybe we should start saying share, subscribe, and like, right? Right? Maybe that's what we need to do. But we need to go there, like, subscribe, share, because it's going to make more visible for other people. It's about the logarithm, right, of the whole thing. People will know more if we do it. So as we finalize this moment of our reflection, let's think of Jesus when he told Matthew, we can't put the light, the candle under the bushel. We need to expose ourselves. In our daily lives, sometimes our family doesn't want to pray. But we're going to say, friends, let's pray right now. Let's do the God at home. Come here. And the children and the teens and the spouse and friends. It's sometimes when you are in a birthday celebration. Do you pray when you are in a birthday celebration? People sing happy birthday, but they don't pray. But we should pray first. But what people are going to think? They're going to love it. They're not going to say, but we learn to pray in a short way, concise way. So that's why we need to learn to pray. And Kardec teaches us that in the Gospel according to Spiritism, in chapter 27 and 28, he's explaining to us how to pray at every occasion. We don't need to put many words, but when we talk to God, because there are people who pray talking to the people they are praying with. No. We pray talking to God. You say, God, thank you for another year in this reincarnation. Thank you that we're together in this family, in this group of friends. If we change a little bit here and there, life is gonna be easier. So today we are being like the scouts, right? They have badges. We're being asked to go through a process of increasing our courage to one day receive a badge, okay? A badge of courage, okay? To share the light. It can be in a smile, it can be in a hug, it can be an act of forgiveness, it can be in sharing a book, an affirmation, an embrace. John the Rosa is always sharing the books and the messages and the affirmations. You tell me the stories, and I tell you, John, yesterday we were at a place, and I said to myself, man, I saw this table with two ladies. One of them was celebrating her birthday. And I said to myself, if John were here, he would go to their table and share an affirmation or give them a book. And I said, since I don't have that courage yet, at least I prayed for them in my mind. And I said, one day I'll do it. But at least we pray for the people whom we're seeing, to share the love that we have inside of us. Let us now prepare for the passage, shall we, friends? We're going to dim the lights. And because our children are working on an activity that it's going to take longer, we're going to do the spiritual passage today. Hopefully we'll resume the magnetic part next week, okay? You know, the passage is like this therapeutic transfusion of energies. And we know that the loving spirits are here with us in the name of God. We visualize the spirit doctors from Dr. Bezerra de Menezes' team. We visualize their loving presence in front of us. They are many. They love to help. They know what we need. Let us help them help ourselves by breathing in and out. Visualizing their loving presence. We breathe in and out, feeling their illuminated hands showering us with their healing love that comes from God. Through our bloodstream, we receive a transfusion of healing molecules. And we also visualize our loved ones receiving it too. As we breathe in and out, the light of their healing love permeates our minds and bodies. Letting go of toxin, letting in renewal. And then ask us to repeat in our minds, I am a child of God. I am light. I am peace. I am joy of living. As they send their light towards our homes as well, we visualize Master Jesus blessing each one of us, our family members, our friends, our co-workers, our neighbors, visualizing our cars, means of transportation illuminated, new life in our lives. And we see the White House being visited by the angels of love, strengthening our president and his team to fulfill God's will on earth with love, with brotherhood, and with peace amongst nations. Peace within our nation. We visualize a beautiful America, generous, prosperous, and kind. Master Jesus, we thank you for being our governor on earth, a governor of peace, of love. Thank you for the invitation through Kardec to strengthen our courage, to share your light, the light of the good news. May we feel more equal to people today than we did yesterday, and surrender to your loving call. May the water we're gonna drink be filled with your loving remedies, strengthening us for days of constructive togetherness on earth. Thank you, Master Jesus. Thank you, God. And so be it.
Or Jesus, those two. They just showed them that it's alcohol. That's one of
Guys, I'll sit comfortable too.
What's this?
you got more ink on your shirt. Oh my God, this is right next to her now. You got more ink on her shirt.
Yes.
More ink.
I think they were
That time when you asked, please, 200 would be 200.
Yeah.
Somebody said before me, they was perfect. Yeah, then. No, it's working more. You can choose.
That's amazing.
You
Right?
should get it. It's all right. You should get it. It's all right.
Bye. For that.
It was actually the first that she that you wore when we first met years ago.
Yeah. So when I 21, it's a to go on
You're 21. Oh, he's finally so remember when Jesus license 112 bed.
My zoning lighting wasn't hard.
No,
No. Yeah, it's not what I did the last time.
something sorry.
Right?
Oh my God, you have the right.
Right? Seriously, how you did the base, nice story.
Yeah, great thing.
Right?
Also, and great thing. Great thing. And on the wall,
Don't forget the water. Friends, don't forget the waters, okay? Don't forget the water.
yeah. Oh wow. True. That's where we live. Bro, I am. Like, pitch it out. And we're like, before your sense started again, turn on it, sure, but they're like, they don't like elementary school grades. Like, so, and send. Gotcha. Yeah, I got it. So I saw things like I think I. Yeah, I was having an issue with there. So now I know what it is. The picture out there, the picture of it. There. This is how I rate big something together. I love rate big.
Okay, friends, we're gonna turn on the lights and open the door. Don't forget your water, friends. Don't forget your water, okay? And remember, look at yeah, look, Michelle is pointing out over there. We still need somebody there, right, Michelle? For the 20 tangerines, green beans and tangerines. If you want to join us at the end of the month in DC, okay, you can sign up and come join us. If you have any question, we'll be here to talk with you. Thank you, friends. Have a wonderful week with courage. Don't forget the badge.
Me. I said it's me.
Oh.
It doesn't matter. You're feeling more than one water.